Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. This week, we have joining us from the Netherlands, Linda van Sinten. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Linda is experienced Scrum Master and creator of the Liberating Structures Visual design cards. She combines her knowledge of Scrum with the powerful skill of creating visualizations and visual tools to drive teams forward. She's trained over 500 people in making powerful visuals out of ideas, structuring strategies, and product visions in tech, healthcare, and other industries. So, Linda, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
About me, mother of three, been a Scrum Master since 2015. When I just returned from my maternity leave for my third kid, I got the news that, hey, everything you did before is now finished. That's okay. You don't have to do that anymore. And by the way, we're doing Scrum and Safe now. And I had no clue what that was. So I started to ask, and then I thought, well, Scrum Master, that sounds like something for me. But I was working 3 days a week. So my lead back then said, well, you cannot be a Scrum Master for 3 days a week. That's just too little. You have to be there for more time. So I joined a team. They just put me in a team because I was kind of an odd one, not being really the software creator, but having done other things. And in that team, there was already a Scrum Master, but he liked to be developer again. So he asked me, okay, if you're part-time, maybe we can do it together, this Scrum Master role. Then I can do 3 days of developing and you can do 3 days of Scrum Mastering. And if you're not there, then I can take over the Scrum Master role. After a month, he said, well, on those days that you're not there, I'm not actually doing anything because it's just going well. I don't have to do anything Scrum Master like. So let's check if it's okay if you can be the Scrum Master of the team. And that was okay. So the team lead that I had said, okay, I heard in the hallways that you're indeed doing a good job with the only 3 days in a week. And yes, it's okay. You can be the Scrum Master of this team. So I just managed to squeeze myself in the role because they were all given, but I just found a way to be Scrum Master.
And in practice, right? It was not, let's think about how to do it, but you just started doing it and it turned out to work well. Well, of course, today's Fail Monday here on the podcast. So we talk about a story of failure and we want to dive into that because we want to learn from what you have learned so that we may hopefully avoid some of the same problems and pitfalls. So share that story with us, Linda, and walk us through the steps, how that story went, from the beginning, what were the things that were starting to happen, and we'll talk about the insights and analyze it later on. But tell us that story first.
Well, so I became Scrum Master of my team, and it went quite well. So I started working with this team. And after a while, it went that well that I was asked to have another team. So 2 teams in those 3 days. The second team was created partly from my old team and partly from some new people from another team. So it was a combined set of people. And they said I was really good at making a team out of individuals. So here you have a new set of individuals and also make it into a team. The thing is, and there comes my failure, I thought what works in one team will also work in the other. So I started implementing all the things that I thought that should work, and they didn't.
Can you give an example of what that would look like? Was it like a retrospectives, or was it like on the one-on-ones, or how you structure the planning? Like, what were the things you were trying that were basically repeating what had succeeded already in the previous team?
Well, it started already with the stand-up. So the team I had before walked through the stand-up feature by feature, and this team wanted to do it person by person, which is also fine if it works for the team, but I was still convinced that the other thing was better because that worked with the other team. So I didn't really listen to them and try to force my way of working. But yeah, that didn't turn out well. And I got feedback of saying, hey, yeah, don't force us into something that we don't want to have. So in the end, yeah, my learning is to start listening. I had it twice also when I became Agile coach for an agency. So I got my new assignment at ASML. I also tried that team. They didn't do any Scrum. So I told them, hey, we should do Scrum. It's better because of this and this. And after a few sessions and few retrospectives, they also told me, like, it seems like we do everything wrong, that you tell us that everything we did is wrong. So we don't like that. So please listen to us. We don't want to do that. We want to find our own way, and we don't want to be forced into some way of working. There's some nice story that I can tell you about how I figured this out. I have a greenery here in my house, in my backyard, and I have a bench there on which I do all the pottery work. And there's stuff laying there. So my tools are just laying on the bench. And then my husband came and he was like, it's messy. This doesn't work. So he made me this rack with screws in it so I can put all my tools up on that rack. But I didn't do that because I love them on the bench as they were. That's my way of working. I love them there. And that's how I work optimally, because I can just grab them and take my stuff. And if I have them up, I have to always take them off and put them on again. Yeah, it seems that it doesn't work for me because the rack was there and I didn't use it. And he was like complaining because he provided me this rack and it was so much better because everything was nice and neat and cleaned. But yeah, it didn't work for me. So then I realized this is exactly the same what I was doing with this team. I was showing them all kinds of stuff, in my opinion, would work for them, but I didn't really listen to them and how they work optimally. So there was a nice relation between my own garden and my way of working.
Absolutely. It's a great story, both the story of the team and the story of the rack, because it really illustrates what happens when we work with teams, right? And very often it's even expected that we bring things to the team, that we tell them what's the right way to work. And when we take that stance, right, telling them, you should do the daily stand-up by feature, not by person, or you should do Scrum even though you've never done Scrum before, then of course at that point, teams that are perhaps content, happy with how they worked before, start to feel like, why would we change?
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason. There's no real reason for us to change, just like you illustrated with that story of the bench and the rack, right? And I think that's, for us as Scrum Masters, it can be very hard because we've seen other teams do it better, right? We know it works better, just like your husband did when he built you the rack. So how do you now do it, Linda? When you go into a team and you have to accept that you can't force them, how do you handle that? How do you act as a Scrum Master in that context?
I stay curious. So now I ask questions and I say, hey, I notice you're doing it this way. How come you're doing it this way? And how does it work for you? Where are you still struggling? So I ask them, where are the issues where you want to change something? And then start there. And then I notice over time, also this team that said we don't want to do Scrum, it doesn't fit us. I asked them where they struggled. And then over time, they realized that they could use the retrospective. So we started there. And we started having retrospectives every month. And from there, we started building on, step by step. You have to respect where they are and you cannot force things on them. And if they pick something, then just be happy that they picked that and start working with what you have.
That's a great point, right? Like start with the retrospective, see where they are, and whatever they pick is the right next step. That's a great perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing those stories.
You're welcome.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.